lunch session, a panel discussion on the topic Semiconductor Fab, the opportunity, challenges, and accelerators. Chairing this session is Mr. Subramani Kengeri, Vice President, Global Design Solution, GlobalFoundries. A brief introduction. Mr. Subramani is currently the Vice President of Global Design Solutions responsible for worldwide design engineering, semiconductor design ecosystem development, and design technology co-optimization. He has 25 years of semiconductor industry experience and has been granted 38 plus US patents. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a big round of applause as we welcome him to this panel discussion. I'd like to request him to please introduce us to the panel members.
Thank you very much. See the slides here. You see the slides? Surya? Great. Good afternoon, everyone. We have a very interesting panel today. At least I think it's interesting. We're going to talk about the semiconductor fab in India and specifically what the challenges are, what kind of opportunities we have, and what could accelerate. So let me first bring in the panel on the stage. So please, let's welcome each of the panelists. So we have Sri Hariranjan Rao. He's the Secretary, Government of Madhya Pradesh. He's going to be on the panel. Thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you. Then we have Dr. Suraj Rangarajan. He's the Director and India CTO of Applied Materials India. Thank you. Dr. Rajamanikam, who's the founder of Dissolve. Thank you for joining us, sir. Mr. Krishnan Srinivasan, Senior Director, Lam Research. I don't see her here, but I hope, yeah, there she is. Ms. Meenu Sarin, she's the Director, VLSI Consultancy, and also Honorary Assistant Secretary of Singapore Semiconductor Industry Association. She has the longest title. So, okay, good. Looks like I need to put on my glasses. So the way we have organized this panel is, I'll give a very quick overview of the global challenges, and then we'll start with the panel discussion. There's some interesting discussion that's going to happen. And then we have what is called as a rapid fire round. So it's about maybe 10 to 12 minutes. I truly believe it'll be really fun. We're going to talk about some of the interesting implications or the true meaning of some of the industry issues. So I always have to talk about GlobalFoundries when I'm speaking, because the marketing guys actually would like to see it. So very briefly, GlobalFoundries, for those of you who don't know, we are about 13,000 employees today. We are in 12 locations, and we have over 160 customers. And the reason we're really a global company is because we have to tap the global talent wherever they are, especially on the advanced technologies, which is very complex. So we have to tap the brains, the best talent, so we go where the talent exists. So whether it's North America, Asia, Europe, we are on all the three continents. The other important point is mitigating geographic risks. If you look at some of the manufacturing fabs today in the world, some of the largest fabs are in earthquake-prone areas. And they're very dangerous. If there's an 8.5 or a 9 earthquake, it can cut off the supply chain dramatically. So our customers have been telling us constantly that supply chain mitigation is very important. So we have been very careful about it, and our fabs, to the best of our knowledge today, are in locations which are geographically risk-free. The other important part is whether it's wearables, the next growth market, or the IoT, or even the advanced technologies, you have to stay close to customers. So the design and technology co-optimization, as an example, really requires a very tight collaboration between customers and manufacturing, which is one of the reasons we are global. Having said that, we have huge amount of capacity across 3 continents. We're talking about roughly about 6 million wafers per year. They're all 200 millimeter equivalent. And then recently, we signed an agreement to acquire IBM Microelectronics. There are reasons why we did that. I wish I could move away from the microphone, but basically, one of the important things here is to strengthen our technology and IP portfolio. We acquired Chartered when we formed the company in 2009, primarily to transform from IDM to a foundry world, and acquisition of Chartered helped us get to the transformation very quickly, and now we are talking about being a technology leader, and so IBM Microelectronics acquisition is going to really help us. There are a few other reasons why we did that, but the key here is we have signed an agreement, and it's going through the regulatory approvals, and hopefully in the next 4 to 5 months, it should all be done. So, as a starting point, I want to set the stage for the panel. So we'll talk about the semiconductor industry landscape, and I want to start off with the gross world product. So if you look at the world economy and the world products, it's very important to understand that semiconductors exist everywhere. So we're all in the right business, no question about it. The way to look at it is, if you look at the data here, this is the US GDP for 2012, about 86.5% in the private sectors, the remaining in the government. But if you look at the different, the groups or the areas from agriculture to wherever you look at, all the way to crime prediction. Recently I was watching a documentary which talked about Los Angeles Police Department talking about crime detection or crime prediction. There's all kinds of things that are happening, and whether it's agriculture or it's crime prediction, there is semiconductors in it. And therefore, we all know that the device opportunity is really increasing, and if you look at the numbers, it's really mind-boggling. So in 2018, we're talking about the wearables to the connected TVs to smartphones growing way beyond the original expectations. What that results in is a very robust foundry opportunity. And that's what we should all be focusing on, at least for this panel, and I'm just setting the stage, which is, if you look at the foundry growth, it is growing faster than electronics and semiconductor market. The reason is the fabless model is very successful. That's number one. Number two is the overall ecosystem is strengthening, further fueling the foundry market. So the foundry revenues are growing much faster. If you fast forward and look at some of the emerging applications that are driving the innovations, it goes anywhere from computer vision to context awareness, 3D, all of these. So these are some of the innovations that we see. My group takes care of global design solutions and defining the advanced technologies. So I'm with the customers all the time, so we know what's happening in the next 3 to 5 years. We are looking at the roadmaps, and we try to intercept that and enable our customers. So there are a number of innovations that are really happening. Another way to look at that is those emerging applications drive innovations across the value chain. Now, these are all important pieces that's going to set the stage for the panel, and specifically to India, because if you look at the value chain from semiconductor device all the way to the system level and the services, India already has the rest of the pieces very well done. That is the core strength. So you can build on that and then go to the manufacturing side. But the semiconductor device, at the end of the day, is truly the enabler for all these services. There cannot be any of these trillions, we're talking about trillions of dollars of services and service business that rely on fundamental semiconductors. So semiconductor by itself has certain growth and certain revenues, but what it enables as value is probably about 1,000-fold. It runs into trillions of dollars. So we just have to keep that in mind. And then one of the topics we wanted to cover as a part of this panel discussion is the challenges. I'm not going to specifically focus on the India challenges at this point. We'll discuss that in the panel. but I want to talk about some of the global challenges. This is true for any advanced manufacturing, or for that matter, any manufacturing facility. It's not enough just to cut the ribbon and get the fab open. You have to have sustained profitability. You have to reinvest those into the next node, and so on and so forth. So if you look at the cost, that's a very important aspect. How we manage cost. How do we keep things simple? That's one of the job of my team, to keep the process as simple as possible. It's very critical. People can easily make the process very complex to get your power, performance, area, cycle time, reliability, whatsoever. But how do you keep it simple while meeting all those objectives? That's a very, very important challenge. I believe India does have all those talents to make that really clean. The other important part in manufacturing is always about consistency. How do you get time to volume very quickly? That's number one. And then how do you maintain that yield? So whether it is clean rooms, or whether it's utilities, or it is the variabilities between the tools, all of those things have to be done very, very carefully on a regular basis. And that's very important. With Applied Materials and Lam Research having a big organization here, that could potentially be a very good thing for India. And of course, speed. Like I said, it's not about just getting the wafer out. It is how do you monetize that wafer? How do you translate that to real product and get you time to money is really the focus. And even for the mature nodes, all of these apply, and it's very critical. So it's not just for the advanced nodes. All of these are very important for any of the manufacturing facility. Then when you look at the cost, that's one of the important factors. I can talk, there is probably 500 slides discussing all of the details. I'm not going to go into all of that in this 10 minutes, but I want to talk about the cost overall. If you look at the major cost for any fab, a new fab, it's really the equipment today. For sure on the advanced node. In fact, on the older nodes it's slightly lower, but still equipment is the biggest component. And if you zoom in a little bit deeper, you'll see that litho is one of the biggest expenses. Okay? And we know that, right? So equipment is a big cost. So that's one thing we need to keep in mind when we talk about the wafer cost. What is the basis for all that? At one point, one of the analysis that we had done showed that the labor cost to manufacture an advanced technology is a small percentage of the total wafer cost. A big chunk of that is really the equipment. The other important part is the materials. So what I talked earlier is the CapEx, the investment, but then the operating cost-wise, materials are definitely one of the largest contributors, at least on the advanced nodes. Keeping all that in view, no matter how you look at it, end of the day, it's an investment that needs to have proper returns so we can reinvest and move on with the cycle. The chart I'm showing here shows that when you look at this curve here, that is the investment that anybody has to make. But if you delay the time to volume, then the investment is going to be much longer and the return is going to be much slower. We just can't afford that on an advanced node. So it's very important that the time to volume is a big focus for any new fab.